For today's video, we're going to make pumpkin pie Costco copycat recipe. So into the bowl, we'll add our flour, then salt and a little nutmeg to just give some flavor to our pie crust. So we stir everything together to make sure all the ingredients are distributed evenly. Now we have our very cold butter, partly frozen, cut into cubes, and we'll add that to the flour. And I'm using pastry cutter here to just cut the butter into the flour. What this does is it creates little pieces of butter that helps to make the pie flaky when it's baked. So you continue to do this till it's well mixed and you have small pieces of pea-size butter, which is very important to help create our flaky pie crust. When you are done cutting the butter into the flour, you take all the pieces of the pastry cutter, and if you have like big sizes, you can just use your hand to just mix it with the flour to make sure they all become smaller pieces. And we're going to use a 1/4 cup of water, but sometimes it depends on the environment you are working in. Either you use less of it or all of it. So we start with about 3 tablespoons of water and mix it into the flour. If the flour still feels dry, then we'll add a little bit more or all of the remaining water. So start with just 3 tablespoons at a time. Stir with your spatula and see how it feels. If you press it and it comes together to form a dough, then it means it's enough. But if not, you add a little bit water at a time because you don't want it to be also very soft. So after mixing everything together, you form it into a dough. And you turn it into a lightly floured surface because we don't want to add more flour into our pie dough. So I'm just trying to form a smooth ball with all the pieces. Then I'll transfer this into a bag and we will let it rest in the fridge for about 1 to 2 hours. So you can actually make this and leave it in the fridge overnight. So when you are ready to make your pie, you can just bring it out and use it. You can also store this in the freezer for even up to a month. For details instructions, you can check my website at theduchesskitchen.com, and I have all detailed instruction over there. And I like to flatten my pie dough into a disc. In this way, when I bring it out of the fridge and it's solid, it's easy to roll into the size that I want. So now this will go into the fridge for about 1 to 2 hours depending on when you need, but at least within the 1 hour to be ready, and all the ingredients will be mixed well, distributed well, and you get a tastier pie. So now I've brought my pie dough out and rolled it into about 12 inches in diameter, and I'm using my pie dish to guide me. Because I'm going to put it in a pie dish, I'll put it on it to make sure I have enough space around the pie dish so that when I put it in the pie dish, I can have a little bit left for me to use it as a design at the edges. So you can do this as many as you want to get the size you want. I think I still need a little bit more. I think this is right there, so I can just trim the rough edges to make it smooth before transferring it into my pie dish. And I think I cut more than enough of the edges, and you see what I'm talking about when we go to making the edges on the bowl. So the easiest way I like to transfer my dough is fold them into two and into four, into a crest, not a crest, a quarter shape. And just put it on the bowl into the pie dish. Open the first side up and the final side up. Then you just spread it out and make sure it's centered and fits and sits in smoothly. You can see that some of the edges are really small. It means I cut more than I needed to cut. So when you are doing that, you can either leave it and maybe shape it with it, or just trim just a little bit so that you can have enough on the edge of the pie dish, and that can help you create a beautiful and a solid edges for your pie crust. So all what I'm doing is using my thumb and my middle finger and the other middle finger to press, and all what I'm doing is using my thumb and middle finger and one middle finger and just trying to press it in between the thumb, using one middle finger and a thumb and middle finger, then press them in. So 3 fingers pressing. So whilst this is done, I'm just creating holes, pricking the center of the pie crust. And what this does is it helps when baking blind to allow any steam to escape so that it don't have a saggy button crust. And after this, we're going to put it in the fridge and let it firm up for about 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, our crust is firm to touch, and we are making it ready to go and bake the crust. And for this, we're using rice, dry rice, or you can also use beans. So you just get a piece of parchment paper to cover the bottom of the crust and add your dry rice, beans, or pie weight. Then you just put it in the oven to bake for about 10 minutes. Whilst the pie crust is baking, we're making the filling, the pumpkin filling for our pumpkin pie. So in a bowl we have 3 egg yolks and 1 full egg, half cup milk. Then we're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. We'll mix that together and add cream. This is what makes this pumpkin pie unique, creamy, and tasty. It uses more egg yolk and more cream to milk ratio. Then we're going to add 1 can, which is 15 ounces, or 1 3/4 cups of pumpkin puree. Then we're going to stir everything together. Now we're adding all the spices that will make the house smell wonderful whilst baking. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe, share, give me a thumbs up, and like. And thank you so much for all who have subscribed to my channel, and I hope you do too. It is very important to always taste your mixtures before you put them in the oven, to make sure it has the right taste for you, and you've not left any ingredients out. And this one tasted wonderful. Now the pie crust is ready, and you can see I had some few grains of rice in there, so I'll just take them out and add the pumpkin filling. I'll pour the pumpkin filling into the pre-baked pumpkin pie crust. So now this one will go into the oven for about 45 to 50 minutes. And it is important you don't overbake it. And I will show you why. So now this is out of the oven. You can see I have some cracks in here because I overbaked it a little bit. So you gotta be shaking. This mixture will be a bit jiggly when you bring it out, but that should be fine. And also, when the edges are cooking so fast, you can add parchment paper to the top to protect the edges. So now let's cut into our pumpkin pie and see how creamy and flaky the pie is. I couldn't catch all the way through. So now let's see how creamy this filling is. Oh, and it tastes delicious. Very silky, smooth, and delicious, and not overly sweet. And one other thing I'd like you to see is the bottom of the pie crust. You could see that it's not soggy. It's firm, and the crust too is, and the crust on the top is very flaky, and that is what you want to see in a pie crust. So this is our pumpkin pie ready, and I hope you enjoy it as I enjoyed making it, and have a happy Thanksgiving if you do celebrate Thanksgiving. And see you in the next video, and thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, and share my videos. Thank you.